Hi, third graders. Welcome to your TV classroom. Today is Thursday, January 7th, and it's a great day. How are you? Before we begin our lesson today, let's check in with our zone. How am I doing today? Well, I'm in the green zone. You know, sometimes I struggle to sleep at night, but last night I slept so amazing. And so I feel refreshed, my brain feels clear. Rafa, I am ready to go today. How are you doing today? Make sure to share that with your learning buddy or someone at home. If you're not in the green zone and you're feeling like you're struggling this morning, that's okay. I'm sorry that you're feeling that way today, but know that we have strategies, you've learned them with Miss Oslin, to get ourselves as close to green as we can. So as we do our What's Missing Thursday, I want you to be doing that strategy and be ready for our main lesson, okay? Join us when you're ready. All right. Before we get going on our What's Missing Thursday, I need you to make sure you have your counters and your whiteboard and your learning buddy today. Okay? All right. So, what's missing Thursday? Let's take a peek. Now, when you see problems like this, sometimes your brain automatically goes, I don't know, because you do know. We have to stop and ask ourselves, what do I know? Not what don't I know? What do I know? That way we know what we have to work with. So read this equation. Blank plus 333 equals 487. What do we know? We know a part. Yes, and we know a whole. Now, what do you know about this? That two parts makes the whole. And if you have a whole and a part, you can subtract or count in between on an open number line to find the missing part. So choose one of those strategies and figure out what's missing. Well, I know 333 to 433 is 100. And I know 433 to 440 is 7. And I know 440 to 480 is 40. And I know 480 to 7 is 7. So 100 plus 40 is 140, and 7 plus 7 is 14. That means my answer is, yes, 154. Ta-da! That's one way of doing it, or you could just subtract. Let's try another one. What do we know? 222 is a part. 487 is a whole. Go ahead and solve. Well, I'm going to just subtract in my head because I don't have to regroup for this one. 7 minus 2 is 5. 80 minus 20 is 60. And 400 minus 200 is 200. So my answer is 265. Did you get the same answer? Nice job. All right. What do we know? This looks different than this. Totally different, right? But guess what? We know a whole and we know a part. We know the same information here in this equation as we know here. We know a whole and a part. Go ahead and solve. Okay, what's 7 minus 7? What's 80 minus 20? What's 400 minus 100? What's our answer? 360. Or you could do an open number line. I tend to do an open number line when I have to regroup, and I do just regular standard subtraction when I don't have to regroup. That's kind of how my brain sees it. Now, your brain may be different. You have to choose the strategy that's efficient and accurate for you, as long as it's a true mathematical strategy. You can't just pick something willy-nilly and say it's your strategy if it doesn't work, right? So the two strategies we know are efficient and mathematically sound are the open number line and subtracting. So you pick one of those two things. Now, when you subtract, you might do standard algorithm or you might do expanded form subtracting. Doesn't matter. But whatever one works for you and your brain and is efficient and gets you to the correct answer works. That's up to you. So you have to find what works for you. Okay, what do we know? We know a whole and a part. Go ahead and solve. Look at these numbers, 394 and 487. Just stop and think for a second. Think about where those numbers are in relation to each other on the number line. Are they far apart or are they closer together than the other numbers we've been dealing with? And then think about 394 and 487. Is your answer going to be in the hundreds? Why not? Right, because 394, 100 more would be 494, and we don't even get there. We only get to 487. So we know when we subtract, if our answer is over 100, we've done it incorrectly. That's something we call understanding your thinking and making a prediction and checking for reasonableness of your answer. You give yourself an idea of what the ballpark should be of your answer so that when you're solving, you can identify if you've made a mistake. So go ahead, solve. What's missing? 93. Is that what you got? Great job. What's missing? What do we know? We know a whole and we know a part. Go ahead, solve. Is that what you got? Nice job, third graders. Let's get on with our lesson today. If you were taking a moment to get yourself as close to green as possible, it's now time to return, and we are going to do our math lesson. All right, today we are applying what we know about multiplication to help us solve division problems. So we're going to be looking at multiplication fact families and using those fact families to help us solve division problems. Just like in kindergarten and first and second grade, when you learned that 3 plus 5 equals 8, that means 8 minus 5 equals 3, and 8 minus 3 equals 5. We were just using that concept in the what's missing, okay? Same thing for multiplication and division. It has the same relationship. That if I have a total quantity and I have two factors, those two factors multiplied together make a total quantity. And when I'm dividing, I have the total quantity. If I figure out one of the factors, either the group or the number in each group, I can then figure out the missing factor. That's what multiplication and division do. All right, so let's take a look. Use counters to model the division fact below. Then write the multiplication fact that matches it. So first of all, we have to ask, this is like a what's missing problem. When we see problems like this, we ask ourselves, what do we know? Well, if we think about division, what information do we have here? We know the groups, and we know the number in each group, right? So can we build that? Let's build it. How many groups are you going to have? 4. How many in each group? 2. Let's go ahead and build it. I've got my 4 groups, and I'm going to put 2 in each group. All right, Mr. Kevin, let's show them the whiteboard. Here we go. Does yours look like that? Now, look at that problem. What do you see? You see 4 groups of 2. What's that multiplication problem? 4 groups of 2 equals 8. So we're missing our quotient. This is our quotient, right? And no, this is the quotient. We're missing our total amount. We have our quotient. We're missing the total quantity that we're starting with. This is our quotient here. So what's missing? We have the 4 groups. We have the 2 in each group. What number in our multiplication fact family is missing? It's 8. So what number goes in this box? We think it's 8. Now let's look at it and see if it makes sense. If I have 8 and I divide it into 4 groups, how many are in each group? 2. Okay, so that's what we're going to be using today. Now, we have some facts to complete. I'm going to write them big here on the board because they're small right there on our PowerPoint. So, and we're going to be using these facts as we go today. So I'm going to leave it all on the whiteboard. We're going to be using them to answer some questions. So 2 times what equals 10? Well, what do we know here? We know a total quantity, and we know how many groups. So what picture could you draw to help you? Well, you could draw 2 groups, right? And then what are you going to do? Yeah, share it out. So how many are in each group? 5. We used division to help us solve multiplication. We took the total quantity and we split it into 2 groups. That's dividing. And we know now that there are 5 in each group. 2 times 5 equals 10. Ready for another one? What if we do 24 divided by 6? What does that equal? Well, what do we know? We know we have 24, and we know we have 6 groups. Can you think of a multiplication equation that has 6 groups of something and it makes 24? Yeah, 6 groups of 4. Let's practice it. 4, 8, 12. Well, if 3 groups is 12, 6 groups is going to be 24. So how many are in each group? 4. We used multiplication, skip counting, to figure out our quotient, how many in each group. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, blank times 6 equals 48. I know this fact. Do you know it? I know it because I know this fact right here. Right. If 24 divided by 6 is 4 and 48 is double it, then it's going to be 8 times 6. Very good. 8 times 6 is 24. And then we have blank divided by 1 equals 8. 8, because 8 times 1 is 8, right? Okay. Now we're going to leave that up because we're going to use it. So it says you can use a multiplication table to find the numbers in multiplication and division fact families. A multiplication table shows both multiplication and division fact families. So we figured it out this way. Mr. Kevin, can we also have the whiteboard up? I know it's small, but I'm going to do some highlighting. And I am now going to erase the work we just did. What are you doing, Mrs. Wally? Well, we're going to see if we can get the same answers using our multiplication table. Do you think we can? Let's see. Here's our multiplication table, all right? And I will tell you what is on there in case you can't see it. I know it's small, but it'll be okay. I'm going to use my highlighter. You're going to be able to see. So let's look at the first problem. It says 2 groups of something equals 10. So my groups are on this side, and my number in each group is on this side, just like we have in an array, okay? So I know I'm going to have 2 groups, so I need to go to the row that has 2 in it. I have 2 groups of something is going to make 10. So I'm going to travel until I get to what number? Remember, the middle part's my product. So I'm going to travel until I get to 10. Hey, look, it's 10. And if I look straight up, I can see the amount in each group, which is 5. Look at that. 2 times 5 equals 10. It worked for that one. Let's do the next one. Now, if you have your math workbook handy, this multiplication table is in your math workbook. So you could find it real quick and follow along with me if you'd like. If you don't have it, it's okay. Okay, so back again. Groups, the number in each group. Okay, I have 24 and there's 6. There's 6 groups. So where am I going to start? Yeah, the row of 6. And I'm going to travel until I get to what number? What's my total quantity? 24. Here I go. Stop. Now, I need to figure out how many are in each group. So I just look straight up. There it is. How many? 4. Wait, that's what we said. Ta-da! Pretty cool, huh? I love multiplication tables. They are the best because they help us with multiplication and division. It shows both, just like an addition table shows adding and subtracting. Okay, I have blank groups of 6. So where am I going to start this time? I'm not going to start in groups. I know how many are in each group. So I'm going to start up here at this 6 because that's how many are in each group. Now, what total quantity am I going to travel down to? 48. Okay, let's go down. Rafa, it's pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, Rafa really likes it. Oh, stop, there's 48. So then what do I do? Well, I go over to the left to see how many groups. And we have 8 groups. So 8 times 6 equals 48. 8 groups of 6 is 48. Awesome. I'm just going to erase this part. Okay. Last one. What do we know? We know that we have one group of 8. So I have one group, and there's 8. Whoops, I went to pen. That's not what I wanted. So I'm going to go all the way over 1, and then go on 8 in each group, and I'm going to go all the way down, and I'm going to look for where the lines intersect. Where they are perpendicular to each other, they cross. And that point is the total of one group of 8. So there it is. That's where they cross. And our answer is 8. Our total quantity in this problem is 8. Did it work? It did work. Now I'm going to go through some slides because these slides are doing exactly what we just did. So I'm just going to go through. So now it says, use the multiplication table to write the equations in the fact family that includes 42 and 6. Okay, so I'm going to look at my 6. Mr. Kevin, we can do just this slide because I can write here on the white part of the slide. Perfect. So I'm going to look at the 6, and I'm going to go until I get to what number? What's my total quantity? 42. So 6 and 42. And then I'm going to go straight up, which gives me 6 groups of 7. So what are the multiplication equations and the division equations for 6, 7, and 42? Go ahead and write them on your whiteboard. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. Here are the multiplication equations. 6 times 7 equals 42, and 7 times 6 equals 42. 42 divided by 7 equals 6, and 42 divided by 6 equals 7. Ta-da! What's great about this is you already know about fact families from 1st and 2nd grade. That's why we did all of that work. So we did it over and over so that your brain could understand this pattern. So when you get to multiplication, it's much quicker and easier to understand. Aren't you grateful for your 1st and 2nd grade teachers? I'm grateful for your 1st and 2nd grade teachers. All right. Here is your last problem. 56 divided by something equals 8. Write that down on your whiteboard. We're going to go back to here. 56 divided by something equals 8. Use the multiplication table to figure it out. Ooh, I see some people going up here to the 8 because they know groups of 8. And then they're going down and they're stopping at 56. And they're going over and they see that it is 7. So 7 times 8 is 56. Great job. All right, your assignment today is to do page 265 and 266. They give you a multiplication table to use, which is awesome. You're going to do the same work finding the fact families for different multiplication fact family equations. All right? Today, did we identify fact families? Did we use the fact families to find the thing we don't know? Yes, and we were also able to identify what we did know to help us. And that's really important in math because you're always going to not know something. But what's really important is to find out what you do know to help you. And then we were able to explain why it worked. Awesome job, third graders. You are applying what you know about multiplication and division to help yourself solve problems. And I am very proud of you. Now, before you go, you are going to get these materials. You're going to get your ELA packet, your pencil, and your learning buddy. Now, Miss Awesome will be with you after the break. Have a great break, take care of your needs, and then she will see you then, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Let's do a little stretching with our breathing now. Inhale your arms over your head and bring your palms together. Now, as you exhale, arch your back and make goalposts from your arms. Then inhale up again and relax. Let's repeat that. Inhale, exhale, inhale, stretch up, and exhale. Bach lived from 1685 to 1750. That means in 1700, he was 15. And guess what? The world he lived in then was just as turbulent as ours is today. Some of the things that happened that year were a mega earthquake near Tacoma, which caused a tsunami in Japan. Europeans changed to a new calendar that began its numbers from the birth of Christ. Huge fires destroyed the capital of Scotland and part of the capital of Ethiopia. Wars were fought by Sweden, Germany, Latvia, Denmark, Poland, Russia, Spain, and France. William Penn began holding meetings for the emancipation of enslaved people here in the United States. New York and Massachusetts passed laws forcing all Catholic priests to leave their territory under punishment of death. If Bach could turn to music to comfort him through all the ups and downs of that, you and I can find comfort in it now too. And you know what? Even with all that chaos happening, one special thing stands out about that year too. The piano was invented in 1700. We've all gotten to enjoy piano music ever since. Let's listen to one other dance Bach wrote for the violin. This one is called a sarabande. It's slower, maybe a little sadder, but it also helps me relax and feel my feelings. If I were to think of words for how this music makes me feel, I would say gentle and touching. What words would you describe it with? Feel free to move to this dance music too and see if you let your body sway and your heart open while you breathe to the music, how it feels.
third graders, welcome back from your break. I hope you had the opportunity to take care of your needs and also gather the materials that you will need for this lesson, like Mrs. Wally asked you to. You will need your ELA packet, you will need your pencil, and your learning buddy. So if you haven't gathered those materials along with all of the graphic organizers and charts that we've used in our biography unit so far, go ahead and gather those materials and then come back to me ready to go. Looks like most of you gathered your materials during your break. The rest of you are getting them now. Making good decisions to have your things ready to go. Now let's review our 3 personal standards. You'll remember our 3 personal standards are the ways we behave when we come together so that everyone feels safe thinking and speaking and sharing their ideas. Let's say these together out loud. Show respect, make good decisions, solve problems. We have been reading and writing all about biographies. You'll remember biography comes from 2 Greek words, bio, which means life, and graphy, which means write. And we've read many different books about people's lives. Today we're learning that biographers, which are writers of biography, which are now you and I, often describe challenges or obstacles their subjects have and identify attributes and express opinions about their subjects. So that's a lot. So what that means is we are going to do some thinking and writing today about the subjects that we chose and obstacles or challenges they had to overcome. We're going to identify attributes, which are words that we could use to describe the person and express our opinion. What do we think or feel about the person that we are writing about? Now, before we get started with that, what I want you to do is have all of your graphic organizers and charts out and ready, and remind yourself, who did you choose to write about and why did you choose that person? So I'm looking at the chart that we did on December 4th, and it was people who have made a difference. And we came up with a list of people who have done something to make the world a better place, had done things to make people care about planet Earth, find peace, who has spoken out for others. So I'm reminding myself of, I thought about Sarah Josephina Hale and I thought about Greta Thunberg. And then next, we thought about changing the way the world works, because biographers often choose people to write their biographies, people who have created an invention or a discovery through their exploration. And we read Manfish about Jacques Cousteau as an example of this. So we did some thinking, Mr. Kevin and I, about who invented or discovered the hybrid car engine. We did some reading and thinking about Dr. Ferdinand Porsche, who was the original inventor of the hybrid engine in 1898. And then, gosh, we have done quite a bit of work, haven't we? On December 11th, we completed this chart, My Passion, My Person, and we thought about sports we like to play, activities we love, clubs we belong to, a cause we feel passionately about, or are there people that you try to model your life after? And we used this to help us think about more people, a diverse group of subjects that we could choose from to write our biography. Then, on December 14th, we completed this, who do I want to write about and why? And we really narrowed down our subject pool to 1 or 2 people. And I chose Greta Thunberg. So, take a moment, I'll give you 1 minute, I have a timer going. Look at all of your documents and remind yourself all the thinking that you have already done on your biography. Go ahead. Okay, that was 1 minute. And I just want to point out, I was looking at our shot here. This is a picture of Rosa Parks. We've been reading about her. That's awesome. All right. As if on cue. You will remember that we read the book If a Bus Could Talk by Faith Ringgold, and she pulls out the challenges and struggles that Rosa Parks had to overcome in her life. They talked about the racism that she faced, the challenges of being persecuted because of the color of her skin. We read a picture book of Cesar Chavez and about the challenges that he had to overcome and the obstacles that he faced in his life. And we talked about how he fought for labor rights, for union rights, and he fought for the right of people to vote. We read about Elizabeth Cady Stanton in Elizabeth Leads the Way, and we learned that a major obstacle that she had to overcome at a very young age was the belief by the adults around her that life was easier if you were a boy than if you were a girl. And she realized that if there were any changes that needed to be made, it had to be made at the level where women needed the right to vote. Because all of the decisions about women and what happens to women's money, can women own property, can women work, how much do women make, were made by men. And that was a huge obstacle that she overcame, of which I have benefited from. So the document that we're going to work on today is What a Challenge. It is page 18 in your ELA packet. So get that out in front of you with your name and today's date on it, ready to do some thinking and some writing. Okay, we are going to use this graphic organizer to help us organize our thinking before we get started actually really digging in and writing our biography. So the first line says my subject's full name, and then there's some bullet points, and it says struggles or challenges faced in his or her or their life, childhood, young adulthood, or adulthood. So I will show you, I completed this. My subject's full name is Greta Thunberg. And I did some research, and I learned that some of the struggles or challenges faced in her life is that she was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which is a form of autism, which means that Greta's brain processes information and emotion in a way that's different than what we call a neurotypical brain, which is like how my brain processes information and emotion. So she has had to learn how everyone else's brain works and how her brain works so that she can function in the world. She also, at a very young age, when she was 11, she learned from a teacher about climate change, and it caused such a deep depression in her that she was unable to eat. She didn't speak very much for about a year, and because she wasn't able to eat, it impacted the way that her body developed. And also, she's a teenager. She's a Swedish teenager, and she's a climate change activist. And she's young, and being young can make it really hard to get an adult's attention, even if the topic is dire, which means it's really important. So you take a moment, and you're going to write your subject's full name and come up with as many struggles or challenges faced in your subject's life and write them on these bullet points. And don't worry about complete sentences. Don't worry about spelling right now. Just get your ideas out. I'm going to give you 1 minute to complete that part. Go ahead. Okay, if you didn't have enough time, you can complete the rest of that portion during your independent work time. If you need more information on your subject, please do reach out to your teacher or our librarians at our Tacoma Public Library. They are so excited to hear from you and to help you find books or texts on your subject. So please do reach out to them. Now, the next portion of our graphic organizer is going to ask us to think about attributes that describe our subject based on the struggles that they overcame and their triumphs or accomplishments. So words that we would use to describe our subject. And you can find a list of words, attributes, on page 17 of your ELA packet. There's a lot of different words that you could use to describe your subject. So what I did was I went through and I put a star next to any of the words that I thought could describe my subject, Greta Thunberg, based on her struggles and obstacles and triumphs and accomplishments. I would like you to do the same thing. Now, if you don't happen to have this document in front of you, what you can do is use mine and just write down the attributes that you think are descriptive of your subject. So I'm going to give you another minute to go ahead and do that. All right, now read through the attributes that you put a star next to that would describe your subject, and then we are going to write those on our graphic organizer next to those bullet points. So I'm going to read through and remind myself. Ambitious, brave, brilliant, confident, courageous, dedicated, determined, expert, influential, intelligent, outspoken, peaceful, persistent, serious, unique, wise. Now, you're going to pick 4 of those words that best describe your subject. Try to pick words that are different from each other. So maybe I wouldn't choose both brilliant and intelligent because those can mean similar things. Now they're different, but they can mean similar things. So try to choose a diverse selection of attributes that would describe your subject, and then you're going to write them next to the bullet points on your graphic organizer. I'll give you about 30 seconds to do that. All right, the next section of our graphic organizer is going to ask us to think about, based on the struggles and accomplishments of our subject and the attributes that describe him or her or they, them, my opinion about my subject is that, because, So your opinion is what you think or feel about your subject based on their attributes and their struggles and accomplishments, And you're being asked to provide reasons that support your opinion. Now, I'll show you what I did. I said, based on the struggles and accomplishments of my subject and the attributes that describe her, my opinion about Greta Thunberg is that she is a strong, insightful, independent person our world needs because she has shared her message on a global stage, calling the attention of influential adults to the issues and urgency around climate change. So my opinion is that the world needs her. And I backed that up with that she was able to call the attention of some influential adults to a really important issue and affect change. Now, before you do any writing, take some think time about what is your opinion of your subject and why do you think or feel that way? Take some think time. Now, share with your learning buddy your opinion of your subject and why you feel that way. Go ahead. I hear a lot of really strong reasons that you have to support your opinion of your subject. Now that you've had a chance to think and speak, you may write. So, write in your opinion, including your reasons. I'll give you 1 minute. Okay, that was 1 minute. If you did not have enough time to complete that portion of your graphic organizer, you can do it during your independent work time. Now, I will remind you, your independent work is to finish your What a Challenge if you haven't already had the opportunity. And you need to do your independent reading about reading of biographies and writing in your writing notebook in response to the biographies that you are reading. What are the struggles that the subjects have overcome? What is your opinion about that? What attributes would you use to describe them and why? As you're reading, pay really close attention to whether or not you're understanding what you're reading, and if you're finding that you cannot retell what it is that you're reading, or you find a word that you're not sure what it means and it's preventing you from continuing to read, go back to this document when reading breaks down and use some of the strategies to help you. Also remember, this is our first week back after winter break. Your reading stamina may not be as high or as long as you were able to read independently in December, and that's okay. Wherever you are is great, as long as tomorrow you do one more page, 1 more minute. If you do find yourself losing focus, always go back to this How to Stay Focused document and use one of the strategies to help you. And on Wednesday, January 20th, a Tacoma educator, Stephen Dunkelberger, will be out in Tacoma telling the history of the different neighborhoods. I'm very excited to learn all about the history in my own backyard. And we're going to learn about the history of your neighborhood too. Also, starting on Wednesdays, we'll have our special guests and we will have an art lesson with Miss Teresa. So excited for that. Now is our time for our affirmation. This is the time when we get to say something positive, remind ourselves of the good that we all have inside of us. So our affirmation today is, I am the best version of myself. Practice saying that with me. I am the best version of myself. Third graders, thank you for doing so much wonderful thinking and writing and reading with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you back here tomorrow in our TV classroom. Bye.
Hey kids, we want to see your work. Just send your pictures and your stories to TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.